Welcome to our gathering tonight. Here we share stories of ordinary people who have experienced extraordinary things. Sit back, relax, and warm yourself by Jim Harold's Campfire.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Campfire. I'm Jim Harold, and so glad to be with you once again. And today we have some great spooky stories, some kind of just weird stories, synchronicity, you might say. I think you're going to enjoy it. And here it is, the Campfire. Hope is from Chicago, and she joins us. She's going to tell us about an apartment she lived in that had some strange and intense poltergeist activity. Hope, welcome to the program. Please tell us what happened.
Thank you, Jim. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was living in St. Paul, and I got my first apartment. It was a little studio apartment. It was really small but affordable. I was just really happy to have a place of my own. I was living alone. It was pretty dumpy. You know, the windows couldn't open very well. It was drafty. But, you know, I didn't feel anything weird at first. Mm-hmm. It was a small studio. There was a main living room area, a doorway into the kitchen, and then there was a bathroom off to the side in the back of the kitchen. My futon was along the wall so I could see seriously everything that was going on in my apartment. You know, I had a good friend of mine who ended up in a coma, and that's when weird stuff started happening. My friends would come over and they wouldn't stay very long. They always described the place as feeling weird. They couldn't describe it. Like they were standing in a cathedral. Like it felt like there was so much more space than there actually was. And no one felt right in that apartment. So I ended up not having very many friends over. More paranormal things started happening, you know, a few weeks later. I was really emotionally drained at the time, which isn't really that surprising considering what was going on. But I felt myself completely overcome with emotion at some times where I would just end up breaking down, and that was really not normal for me. Around that time, some activities started happening where my dishes in my cupboard would move. I would put things down and then I wouldn't be able to find them. Things that I attributed just to the building being old. But as time went on, some more intense stuff started happening. Knives would fall out of my drawers. The stuff that I would place and end up missing would reappear the next day next to my bedside. You know, I would have friends stay over for the night, and more than once they would wake up in the middle of the night and, you know, feel as if someone was standing over the futon, like swing a punch at them. It was such an intense presence, nothing visual, but, you know, it started getting a lot more intense. There was one experience I had, you know, at the height of the activity where I was actually washing my dishes in my bathtub because my sink had broken. And, you know, it was a little bathtub. My back was to the open doorway. And I just got this really weird feeling of someone standing directly behind me. And I was turning around expecting someone to be there, and I just got this really uncomfortable sensation. So I ended up putting my back to the wall, and I was washing my dishes in this really uncomfortable position, and I heard this boom sound like something had fallen and slid, and I thought someone upstairs had fallen or something. But when I got up and I was done washing the dishes in the bathtub, right outside of the kitchen doorway and the bathroom doorway was a Swedish Bible that I had found at Goodwill from 1832. That was actually in the main room. It had fallen off a shelf and slid around the corner into the kitchen.
All right, it slid around a corner by itself. Wow.
Yep. And, you know, all the other activity I just kind of was associating with something wrong with the electrical, even though I would see the light switches turn on and off. And, you know, maybe they're doing some underground construction and somehow my dishes are falling from my cupboard. But that really solidified that, you know, there was a presence in there. And it, it got more and more and more intense. And, after a couple months, I realized it was not my friend. It was not my friend's spirit. It was something darker and something a lot more, I'm trying to find the word to describe it, because it was a really odd sensation. It wasn't friendly, but it wasn't malicious. It was just odd, and the most intense experience I had, and this is when I realized I needed to move out, and I needed to move out immediately. I had a friend stay over. We were studying for finals, and I was a little bit of a procrastinator at the time, so I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, and, she was going to drive me to school. So I was sitting in the main room. I had a big mirror where I would sit and brush my hair and do my makeup and everything, and she was in the bathroom brushing her teeth, and she shut off the faucet and said, "Hope, what did you say?" I was like, "I didn't say anything. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm not moving my mouth. You're crazy. You must be half asleep." And she turned the faucet back on, and 10 seconds later, she turned it off and was just quiet, just sitting there quiet. She turned the faucet back on again, and after about 5 or 6 seconds, she turned it off and got mad at me. "What are you trying to say to me? What are you trying to say to me? I can't understand what you're saying to me." And I was like, "You're crazy. I'm looking in the mirror. It's not me." And she came through the kitchen, and she was completely pale. I've never seen someone's face so pale. And she was like, "We're getting out of here right now." What happened? What happened? Like, tell me what happened. She wouldn't tell me. And finally, we were in the car. We were about 3 or 4 miles away. And finally, she had the heart to tell me that when she was in the bathroom, she heard a voice in the kitchen speaking a different language.
Ooh.
The thing that freaked me out, though, was that it was my voice.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Ooh. Oh, that gave me the chills. Wow. Yeah.
Well, she was getting so angry at me, and it totally freaked me out. The 3 months after that, where I lived there, that, there was still some really intense activity, but it wasn't until I moved out and I moved into a new apartment that I realized, how creepy and how serious the situation felt. And I started processing it, and I was doing a lot of research about poltergeist activity and how it centers around, oftentimes adolescent girls that are in times of stress. I wasn't an adolescent, mind you, but I was under a lot of stress, and I can't help but think that it was probably me. Mm-hmm. My own unconscious energy somehow projecting in that way, which totally freaks me out. But ever since I moved out, nothing ever happened again.
And that would be a place I would be glad to say goodbye to.
Yeah, it was relieving. I was almost tempted to write a note and hide it in the cupboard and say, "Watch out, this place is haunted." But I was just ready to leave and put it behind me. And, no poltergeist activity has followed me anywhere. It was just that one apartment.
Well, Hope, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I certainly appreciate it. And thank you for listening and being a part of the campfire.
Thank you so much, Jim. Have a good night.
Tracy joins us from West Virginia, and she's going to tell us a story about one of my favorite subjects because I find it to be one of the most spooky, the Ouija board. Tracy, welcome to the program, and tell us what happened.
Okay. Again, this happened, let's say I was probably in middle school, and I'm 38 now. I'll give you a little background, of the house, so you can understand, the layout.
Okay.
I lived with my grandparents, so I had a bedroom upstairs. There was 2 bedrooms upstairs and an attic. And underneath was where my grandma would sit and watch TV of that room. And then below the other bedroom is where my grandfather slept. Well, that day he had worked a double and was sleeping. It was probably mid-afternoon. And my grandma was in her chair watching her soap operas probably. So me and my friend decided to go up in my bedroom, turn all the lights out, and play with the Ouija board. Well, I had got the Ouija board for Christmas and had been playing with it nonstop. I've never had no problems with it. It answered my questions and no scary experiences. Well, we lit a candle, and we were asking it silly questions like, who do you like? Who likes us? Things that a middle school girl would do.
Sure.
Well, we didn't like its responses, so we began yelling at it.
Oh, that sounds like a mistake.
No. Yeah, so all of a sudden, the planchette started doing figure eights really quickly on the board. And all of a sudden, it flew off. It hit the wall on the opposite side of the door. The light, the candle, it just went out, and then we heard this growling sound. After that, it kind of gets blurry, but I remember the door was locked, and I never locked my door. Me and my friend were punching each other, trying to get out of the room. She said that I looked possessed, and we were just scared. I don't want to shitless. Pretty much. We went downstairs, and I was like, Grandma, did you hear that? And I was like, she's like, what are you talking about? Like I'm crazy. And I said, was Pap snoring, or, just trying to think, where'd that growl come from?
Sure.
We were so scared. We had my grandma watch us go back upstairs, get the Ouija board, and we put it in the burning barrel. And I have never even touched one since. I have no desire to be near a Ouija board again.
It's one of those things. There's one in my basement right now, and it kind of scares me, the fact that it's even down there.
Yeah, they said they wouldn't burn, but mine burned. I remember putting a match to it. So
yeah, burn, baby, burn.
And I even called my friend. Well, I texted her on Facebook because I haven't talked to her forever, and we were talking about it, and she didn't remember. And then I started to tell her. She goes, "Oh my goodness, that was so scary." She's real religious now. She goes, "I think we had a demon in the room with us." So, I had to make sure that I wasn't just making this story up, And
like you were remembering something you'd seen on TV, but this specifically happened to you. Well, it is a very cool story, and I'm glad that you're safe from the Ouija board now. And I believe you're a new Plus Club member, so thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us today on the Campfire.
Okay, thank you very much, and I love your shows.
It is a busy time around the Spooky Studio, and we have several things to tell you about. First of all, our email contest, our big holiday book giveaway. One lucky winner in the continental United States will win a 10-pack of paranormal books, and there'll be 2 runners-up who win 5 books each. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be continental U.S. just because of the realities of shipping. The way you enter, if you are subscribed to our free newsletter, you are already entered. And if you are not, I suggest that you go to this post over at jimharold.com, and there will be a link to sign up for our newsletter. You will automatically be entered into our random drawing, which will take place on December 6th. And hopefully you'll win. So sign up and get a great weekly newsletter, we think, free newsletter with paranormal news stories and updates on the shows, and enter the contest in the process. Number 2, I wanted to remind you that my book, Jim Harold's Campfire 2, True Ghost Stories, is still available. The easy place to find that is jimharoldbooks.com. And keep in mind it's available on the Kindle for $2.99, and it is available for paperback under $9. That price fluctuates a little bit on Amazon by a few cents, so I know it's under $9. So enjoy that. And if you buy the paperback as a gift for someone or just buy one, you can then get the ebook for only 99 cents. It's part of Amazon's Matchbook program. It's pretty cool. Check that out at jimharoldbooks.com. And then finally, my Plus Club, where you can get the back archives of everything 90 days and older for the Campfire, the Paranormal Podcast, and hundreds of exclusive podcasts have never been heard on the free feed. Actually, we're over 720 podcasts now. You get when you join paranormal webinars and courses, meet and greets with me, virtual meet and greets, a great forum section, and it's all on sale through the end of November. Run, don't walk over to jimharold.net. Click on the big green button for our special holiday sale on the Paranormal Plus Club. So anyway, please do all of that, and I've got one more thing from our announcer.
Jim's upgrading his computer for 2014 to keep the shows going strong. This holiday season, please do your shopping via Jim's Amazon.com.